demonstrate some of the more important tools in the shop, the power tools, we're going to walk through a simple project, a cutting board. And to make that cutting board, we're going to use this nice, wide, clear piece of maple.
Now, Asa, where do you find a piece of maple like this?
Well, this particular piece, it started off rough, which is right off the lumber mill, and you see these rough sawn edges here. And we use a jointer and a planer to surface this board and get all the surfaces smooth. We'll finish this last edge in a moment. But you're not going to have those when you're starting out. So you want to go to your local home center, local lumber yard, hardwood dealer, and ask for boards that are surfaced already for you. And you'll buy them pretty much looking like this, all clean and ready to go. To make this cutting board and design the shape and outline, I was inspired by a recent article in FineWoodworking. It won't be exactly like any one of the designs in this article, but it'll be something similar. So let's get started by making some of the key layout lines. I'm using some common woodworking layout tools: tape measure, combination square, good old pencil. This is a circle guide, and they come in a lot of different sizes to make a whole range of different arcs and full circles when you're laying out projects.
All right, it looks like we got the pattern drawn out here. The next step is to cut it out.
That's right, we're ready to cut out the shape. A great tool that a lot of beginners will have is a jigsaw, and that'll work great for cutting out this cutting board.
When you're using a jigsaw, you want to make sure that you clamp the workpiece firmly to the bench because the jigsaw can bounce around quite a bit. So when you cut, you're going to want to stay outside of this line so that we don't cut into our cutting board, and you're going to want to make any relief cuts to make the cut easier. So when I'm making some of these turns, I might cut some chunks out of the piece.
With some practice, and if you're careful, the jigsaw will do fine on cuts like this. The bandsaw, though, will make life even easier. There's a few advantages here on the bandsaw. Number one, you see that the table on the bandsaw will support the work in almost any position. The bandsaw also has a smooth, continuous action as opposed to the up and down, herky-jerky action of the jigsaw.
All right, I got it rough cut.
All right, the next step is to smooth those rough edges. We can smooth those edges by hand with a sanding block. That's going to take a lot of time. We can speed up the process with a random orbit sander. A belt sander would also work here. I'm going to take this over to a benchtop sanding machine, and that's going to do the job quicker than anything. Okay, those edges look pretty good. Next, we need to drill a hole in the handle. If you have a drill press, you can do it there. If not, no problem. Just use a handheld drill. Okay, let's take it over to the bench. Matt's got the router set up here to round over the edges.
Okay, I put a 1/2-inch round over bit in here, and it's got this bearing on the end. And basically what's going to happen is this bearing is going to ride against this nice smooth edge that Asa just sanded. And it's going to give us a nice consistent round over around the whole piece. You're going to have to clamp it a few different ways in order to get the router around the whole piece. Alright, so we're going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to try to move a little more quickly. The faster you move the bit, the less burning you're going to see on the... Now one quick note about this end here. You can see the router had a little bit of a hard time making it around that small diameter. It's because there's not much bearing surface for the router to ride against. If you use the router table, it'll support the workpiece completely. In episode 6, we'll show you how easy this router table is to make. If you don't have a router, you can do all of this shaping with files, rasps, and sandpaper. We highly recommend those hand tools for the tricky round over on the inside of the handle hole.
What we're going to do right now is apply a little elbow grease to hand sand and smooth all these round edges, get rid of some of these router burn marks, and that'll take a little bit of energy.
All right, well, still got a little ways to go on here, but why don't you show us what you're going to do to the surface of this cutting board?
All right, the surface of this board is already in pretty good shape off the planer where we got this board, but I'm going to smooth it to a really fine finish so it's ready for our oil finish, which comes next. I'm going to use a random orbit sander for that. Quick word on sandpaper. It comes in various grits, and different manufacturers number these a bit differently. But basically, you'll want to start around 80 or 100 grit if you have a lot of material to remove. If you don't, you can start at 120 or 150 grit. Then work methodically up through the grits to about 220 or higher.
Okay, Asa, I got our finish, and I think it's ready to apply.
Great. While Matt's getting the materials together here, quick word on food-safe finishes. Matt chose a natural, pure linseed oil, not a boiled linseed oil. For more on other kitchen-safe finishes, check out the article on this page.
All right, well, this is really my favorite step of the project. Applying the finish, if you've done a nice job with your surface preparation, it's really going to bring out all of the figure and color in this wood. So let's see how it looks. It's okay to just really soak your rag here. We're just going to start wiping it on.
It looks great. There's some curly figure here in this maple.
All right, I'm just going to finish up with my oiling here. But for more on power tool woodworking, check out some of the articles on this page.
Nice work, Matt.
All right, thanks, Asa. Do you get to take this home, or do I?
Let's go to my house.
All right.